Hi, today's video is all about light and speed, and a little bit about sticky out thingies. Heysham. Popular with dogs. Apart from there being a ferry terminal just over there. Heysham is also famous for a nuclear power plant. It sort of puts a few people off coming, but it is actually incredibly beautiful when you look at the surrounding coastal scenery, which is why I'm here, as well as the wildlife, of course. So I'm going to head over to that pointy out bit there. But I might take a photo with a long lens of that wind turbine. So whether I do it now or not. It's very calm. Apart from Hubert there, he's not very calm. He's not with me, by the way. Okay, so in the end I took two shots. One south towards that wind turbine, very long shot into the distance to catch some of the detail on the horizon. That's the direction of the sun. And then I noticed over towards the north, where the Lake District is, across the bay, there was some snow on the hill. There's birds flying across on the hilltops. So I took another long shot at 300mm. That's as long as that lens, as you can see behind me, can go. And I had a third shot, actually, which I zoomed back out to see if I could capture some of the foreground detail. So here you can see, so roughly catching a little bit of this fawn, these nice yellow flowers, and then across the bay you got a little sticky out crop there, and then there's a further bay there. I think that's Arnside, right in the distance, just about where my finger is. I think is the town Grange-over-Sands. But beyond that, there are some hills, and they had, if they catch the sun, they've got a nice glow of snow covering on the very peaks. Right, off to the next location, further down the coast. In the meantime, I'll put up the 3 shots I've just taken now, if they're any good. So this is my first photo of the day at Heysham, and it's one of my most favourite ones as well. I love the colours, I love the sky, and the way the light is shimmering on the sea just down at the bottom left. You may remember I took this actually from quite a distance away, across the bay. So I used my long lens, and this is actually at 200mm. What I particularly like about it is that it draws your eye immediately to the turbine. Now the turbine was moving, those blades were spinning at the time, so I needed to use a relatively fast shutter speed to freeze that. And then certainly I find that my eye is then drawn right across the picture to these jetties, and you look closely, you can actually see there's some sort of like monitoring equipment on there. Maybe something to do with the nuclear power plant around the corner. And then your eye rests eventually on the right hand side where you can see that ship. The dock that's just over to the left is for freight. There's no passengers. So that's one of my most favourite ones. So I was in two minds whether to include this shot. It's not particularly very impressive, but it's the only one really where I managed to get a very long distance shot of the hills in the north in the Lake District, and you can just about see that they're snow-capped. And again, I mentioned it in the video, so I'm showing it. This is the same sort of direction. You can see the hills in the background, but I've just taken a more zoomed out shot. So we've got this foreground and the sticky out bit with the couple and the dog there on the grassy bank. Nothing to write home about, I'm afraid. It is sharp, it's in focus throughout, but yeah. That's where we've come from. Okay, without further ado. So I've no idea how good these shots are, but I've taken a few long exposures to try and soften out the sea, the water. One was to catch those two little rocks sticking out there, and then the third I tried to include this little rock pool down here. So this fourth image, taken from those rocks, looking out these two little islands here, if you can call them that. I quite like it again. I love the colours in it, and I love the fact that we've managed to keep those rocky little islets well below the horizon. There's a few buoys you can see just on that horizon line as well. It's to try and smooth out the sea, as I mentioned in the video. I used a longer shutter speed, so we did 20 seconds. It's 20 seconds at f11 and ISO 100, and we're at 61mm. I don't think I cropped this. This is as it came out of the can. Yeah, so I like that one. I also like the fact you can see some of the birds on the left-hand rock. Not so keen on this one. You've got the rock pool in the foreground. It's sharp front to back. I did multiple focus brackets, so basically took multiple shots and each one focused on a different spot, so right at the beginning and then all the way through the shot. The rock pool is nice, but whatever I did, I had my polarizer so I could cut through the glare, but clearly I didn't set the polarizer strong enough, because you can still see quite a lot of reflection there. And to be fair, it just looks bland. I should have had my camera a lot lower. It would have made the rock pool a lot bigger, and it would have reduced that big dead space between the edges of the rocks and between there and the actual little islets, shall we call them, in the distance. So yeah. It's actually a week later from when I was here and all the footage that you've seen so far. But the truth is, I really enjoyed coming to Heysham last week, so I decided to come back again. One, to just have a stroll around, but also I plan to take some drone footage, and yeah, cataclysmic error on my part. The controller of the drone landed in the sink, so that's going to dry off and clean off, and maybe another day. But in the meantime, I'm back again. It's a bit cloudier than last week. You can see that in this particular area, lots of rock formations. They're really fantastic to take close-up, intimate shots. Plenty of seaweed, that's that dark stuff. So I'm going to head on up. If I see anything decent to take a photo of, I will do. I've got my camera and you're sat on my tripod. Just a shame I couldn't share with you some overhead video, because it's beautiful coastline. Well, it gets a bit nippy after a while when you stood around taking photos. But I did decide to take two. One of, it looks like a jetty. Now, there is actually a path that goes across here, so it may be a path. I'll show you in a second. Anyway, I took a photo of that there sticking out, and also, if you look right over into the distance, just above this peak of rocks, you can see, I think, a couple of people there fishing. They're definitely fishing. I think there's just two of them. So I managed to get them on my long lens on 300mm. Similarly, this here little outcrop, sorry, not outcrop, it could be buoys or groins. It could be groins. That's it, groins. I think I got that at about 200 or 300. I'll put up on the screen. If those two shots are any good, I'll put them up now, and then in the meantime I will pack my bag and head on up. I'll go to St Patrick's Chapel, tell you a little bit about that,
and then yeah, and then walk back to the car.
Now this shot I do like. I think it's got a lot of colour in it. I love the contrast between the rocks and then the skyline, the blues and the yellows. I appreciate it's probably a lot in it, maybe quite busy. In fact, you could argue that it's essentially two shots. It could be a top half and a bottom half, and you could show them and they'd be equally fine just as two separate shots. But everything is absolutely razor sharp. So I took multiple shots again, so I did what's called focus bracketing. I think there's about 6 shots all in all, to have everything pin sharp all the way through from the foreground right into the distance. The colours were just incredible. I think it was going back that later, I didn't feel that the weather was any better, but certainly the light must have been better. There was more reflected light, and they just seemed to get far more colour out of the scenes, which made it much more interesting. I mean, those green, the algae in the rock pool, it's just like, it looks like luminescent, doesn't it really? And as does the lichen in the foreground. It's really, really nice. So 5 out of 10 for the composition. Probably tried to put too much in it. The camera should have been lower down. It would have made the rock pool a bit bigger. But I really do like the overall, colour and look of it. And then the final 2 images, the first one was black and white. I've no idea, to be honest with you, what that is. It just looks like, I would have thought groins, which are supposed to just mark out the sand banks and stuff like that. But it has got a little, well, either looks like an antenna or some sort of flag on it, who knows. But I put it in black and white just to accentuate it and bring it out. Yeah, but nothing really fantastic. And then the final one was really taken at some distance. So it was at 300mm, which is the longest I could go with the lens I'd got. And this is actually cropped quite a bit. It's probably cropped by about 50%. And you can just about see on the horizon, and it wasn't clear looking from the naked eye, that you've got these 2 people and they're fishing and they've got their rods set up and they're really quite far out. I mean, it looked quite dangerous to me because these are all mud banks. But they're having a whale of a time there. It seems to be having a really enjoyable time. So, whilst there's nothing special about it, it's a very minimalist shot. I do like some of those colours. You've got the blues in the sky, the cyan in the midgrounds, and then there's a bit of a sort of like a purpley colour coming out there from the sands. So yeah, I like that one.
Okay, so having dropped most of my photography, certainly my drone equipment today, not just the controller but batteries as well, this is quite a bit of a foolish undertaking, but I'm going to head across these rocks, hopefully to find a shortcut up there. No, I'm not. I'm not going to be stupid. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go the way I came. The way I came was bad enough. Not in any way sulking at all, but if I'd have set my drone off from this nice flat grassy patch where I was last week, I probably wouldn't have that cataclysmic problem. Okay, so I'm really testing the limits of this microphone. Has got a sort of wind muff, but it's not the best. It's more designed to be compact. This lovely beach, and in the distance there, just on the hilltop overlooking this bay, is the remains of the chapel of St Patrick. You probably can't hear a damn thing because of the wind, sorry, but just very briefly, just over my shoulder there is the south of Morecambe. It actually goes around the corner a little bit, and then in the distance behind the bend where the River Kent estuary comes into this bay, Morecambe Bay, that's where Arnside is. Now up that hill where all the dogs are. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 ancient tombs. Apparently supposed to be unique, and they are over the 10th century, so 1,000 years old. The chapel is supposed to be on grounds going back to the 6th century, 6th or 7th century. And then the church next door, which you'll have seen photos of, or will, from last week. I think that's 15th century. Again, the sun is hiding behind a bank of clouds. If you look carefully, you can just see a gap, rather hazy gap, between the clouds and the horizon. And as is all too often the case, when the sun really gets quite low down just before sunset, you can break through underneath the cloud bank, and you can really have some nice light shining across, which would go right across this bay. And now it's time to start walking backwards. Well, not, metaphorically speaking, you know what I mean. Back to the car. See you shortly. And as if to just prove the point I was making about when the sun starts to come down and you get this, it starts breaking through the cloud. Here's a shot I took with my phone. I had to take it with my phone because you can see my bag's on my back. There's no way I was going to get my proper camera out in the time that I had. So, but it's nice to get this shot as my last shot. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for putting up with me, and catch you on my voyages. For now, goodbye from Heysham and Heysham Docks.